I'm going to talk about one of my favourite Bethesda cities now, Markarth. The reason why I like it is because it gives you a sense of history. Because the people who run it now aren't the ones that built it. It was built by the Dwemer, ancient elves. We call them dwarves in the Elder Scrolls, right? They're not the same as dwarves in other games. These are elves. Technologically advanced. And they disappeared, leaving an entire city for basically the Reachmen to take over. And they did. They just moved right in, and the Nords kicked them out and they moved in. And when you see this city, the history, you can't avoid wondering, about what's where and how it looks and who built it. It just hits you straight away because it's clearly not something that the Nords had built. But the second you start exploring, its sense of scale comes out. Because that immediately hits you. Doesn't matter where you go, what you do, you cannot avoid that sense of scale. I mean, right here, right now, just walking around here, you can see it for yourself. Now, it gets even better once you enter the city. Once you enter the city itself, you start in the bottom, where all the work's done, where the menials work, where the marketplaces are, where the pubs are. I mean, here we have the Silver Blood Inn, which is named after a local family. And you can see it's richly detailed.
What can we do for you?
I mean, Dwemer technology, Dwemer levels in Morrowind were a mystery and quite fascinating because they were very dangerous places. You never got to explore them fully without putting yourself into some danger. Now, there's a city you can just explore freely. You can walk around, look at every nook and cranny. And they've added an awful lot more of Dwemer artifacts for you to look at as well, from plates to jugs to all kinds of stuff. Well, that was never in Morrowind. You just got cogs and things. But you see the river running from the mountain all the way through adds a bit of life. Any running water would ultimately add life to a city. And this one's much more interesting the further you go. I mean, look at that. It flows into the main river. And if we actually just cross here and go across here, see, comes off the mountainside, down there, past the waterway and through here, powering the forges. And at the bottom, all the menials, the people who are poor, working, slaving away, with their own little place behind that door. And above them, the nobles, the well-offs, the merchants looking down on their workforce. And just like the Dwemer, typical of the Dwemer, they put an archway over their own mine, which is now a prison. So you get the idea that the people at the top look down with some disdain at those below them. But this was the Dwemer design. Remember, the Dwemer put the mine there and did everything else down here. I mean, from this level, we're starting to look at the merchants. I mean, there, you've got the water wheel, effectively owned by one of the smithies. Here, you've got some fancy houses, and an exit to the mine if you know how to get to it. But up there, above it all, right there, we have the guard tower. Guards at the top of the world, looking down on their subjects, or the people they must control. If we go in here, we enter a world we just didn't know existed, because it's just a tower, right? Until you go down these steps. Once you go down these steps and you end up in the area where the guards sleep, you realise there's a hell of a lot more to Markarth than meets the eye, because anywhere where there's a rock, there could be a room dug into it.
The waiting. The insufferable waiting.
Imagine the kind of people that would have to, that would have made their home inside a mountain. I mean, right there, look, looking down on the marketplace from above. You never know if you were being watched when you try to pickpocket somebody. If we follow this, I mean, you've got access there to the Temple of Telos.
I'm gonna be a silver.
Down there, you've got a room that's possessed by a Daedric prince, or one of his shrines. If we go up here, Temple of Diabella. As
The
you can
sisters are
see,
communing
top
with
of the
Diabella.
world is the temple
Have to come back. The
of
sisters are
Diabella
communing.
herself. This wouldn't have been the original,
You'll have to come back. The
the original
sisters are
use for
communing
this
with Diabella.
building.
They can't.
Dwemer would have had, you didn't really believe in gods, they had science. So the chances are that probably would have been something to do with their research. But look at that, top of the world here, looking down on even the middle classes, are the gods. And there are all the middle class houses right there. Again, built to the side, higher up than the peasants. But you don't really get that sense of wonder until you start entering inside the Jarl's palace. One of the things I like about this is you get the shouts, and you just shout here and blow the guards off into there when you're doing some of the missions. But yeah, I mean, look at the scale. I mean, the design that went into this. I mean, somebody thought this up, started drawing pictures and had other people make this. I mean, just look. That would have been started out as a piece of artwork. And it is still, I would say, a piece of artwork. It's just a 3D artwork. Once you start building up instead of out, you literally had a whole new dimension to gameplay. You could snipe down on there from here with bows, sneak past guards, all kinds of things. I mean, this is one of the better cities that Bethesda's ever made, in my opinion. And it's not the only area. I mean, we could go through here and we can see even more of it. I mean, up there you've got a museum which we're not allowed to see. In here you've got what's basically another city underground, and behind that door more Dwemer artifacts and ruins and creatures, and you get the sense that if you go through that door and stare up what lies behind it, it's like the Balrog from Lord of the Rings. You don't know what's going to come charging out of that door into the Nord City. You can imagine, okay, Dwemer art machines all pouring down here. Maybe creatures. This is the sense you get, plus the Hall of the Dead right there, with the various mysteries that goes on in the dark. And if we go into the Jarl's area itself, and we just look at his throne room from down here, we can see the Jarl from there. How hard would it be for me to just snipe him from there? But I think the point is he's at the top of the stairs. Stairs built by a massive egomaniac who needed to feel more important than his subjects that came in to see him from below that door. And his friends are allowed to sit here at the top, looking down. Let me through then. It says looking down on visitors, seeing who's coming to see the Jarl. But there's been a lot of improvements to the Dwemer world. You know, especially the fact we might be able to see some bits here, maybe. Can we? No. There's a lot of Dwemer artifacts in this game that were in Morrowind. And they all add to it all. You get this real sense that you are in fact in Dwemer ruin and they did leave everything behind. Because most of it's still here. I mean, you get like a lot of looting going on, so you don't get as many bits, but some ruins are quite full of artifacts, even now. Don't go through the doors. I mean, look at the skill, attention to detail, the design. And if you stand up here looking down on the world at the people coming in, you get a sense of power. This is one of the better designed cities in any of Bethesda's games so far, in my opinion, because it adds a sense of wonder because of who built it. It adds a background story because of who took it over, and it becomes part of the modern world as well, because the Civil War says that the Reach all were part of this. I mean, the Civil War, you see this being taken over by various sides. The Reachmen were forced out by the Nords. The Dwemer have a history themselves.
Do you know anything about this house? Seen anyone enter or leave?
See, he wants to know because he's about to deal with a Daedric prince.
Thank you for your time.
Behind every door there's a bit of a mystery, like this one here, right? It says Arlif and Sons Trading Company. He's not the one running the store. So anyhow, this is one of the best designed cities that Bethesda have ever made, in my opinion. Simply because of the scale. And there's the guards again, the guards tower. And I think their barracks will be in that rock somewhere, right above the tavern. Completely amazing. It's one of my favourite cities in any Bethesda game. I love Vivic City, and I've liked the smaller version of it in Elder Scrolls Online. But you have to admit, nothing matches that for scale. See you in the next one.